After taking out all of the internal energy from Starko's chest, Seo-woon looks around and notices the barrier, signaling the edge of the restricted zone. Quickly moving through the trees, Seo-woon observes that this time, the restricted zone seems to be shrinking faster than before. As he runs with his night cloak still on, he notes that there are now only 6 survivors left. With 87 days still remaining, he wonders if the zone's speed depends on how many players are left. Suddenly, his eyes widen in surprise as he stumbles upon a wide-open clearing. He mutters to himself in disbelief at the unexpected layout. Stopping at the edge of the field, Seo-woon realizes the danger of the location. If he encounters an enemy here, he could draw too much attention from the others. Before he can react, streaks of green energy suddenly rip through the air, heading straight toward his position. Startled by the sharp sound, Seo-woon turns his head, noticing something rushing toward him fast. In the very next moment, the violent glowing green streaks nearly reach him, forcing him to react quickly. Seo-woon's eyes shoot open in shock as the attack rains down, catching him completely off guard. The green blasts strike the ground and explode all around, filling the entire field in a chaotic storm of energy. Likely a mana spell aimed precisely at Seo-woon's location, narrowly missing him. As the green blasts crash all around him, Seo-woon twists his body mid-motion, narrowly slipping past the incoming projectiles. Still hidden beneath his night cloak, he crouches among the tall grass and confirms to himself. It wasn't a random barrage. The magic spell had been cast with precision, clearly targeting within his location. But he finds it impossible as his cloak masks all traces of sound and breath. Confused and alert, he questions how the attacker was able to pinpoint his location so accurately. Before he can process further, another wave of glowing green projectiles lights up the night sky above. Then, that second volley of green energy descends, more numerous than the first. As the sky rains down with streaks of energy, Seo-woon stands his ground and grits his teeth, realizing he can't dodge them all. Breaking into motion, Seo-woon changes to a fighting stance with a fierce determination, shedding hesitation as he throws his cloak aside and fully commits to the fight. He then clenches his fist tightly and smirks with resolve, deciding that if he has nothing to lose, he'll bet everything on the internal energy that he has absorbed. Without hesitation, Seo-woon places all his trust in his internal energy and prepares to counter the attack head-on. And with a powerful yell, Seo-woon activates Mujul Quan. Chapter 1. Extreme. Straight Punch. Blue energy surges around his body as he launches his fist into the oncoming barrage. The punch explodes forward, sending a shockwave tearing through the incoming projectiles. The wave of force ripples outward, tearing through the air with devastating power. As the dust settles, Seo-woon looks at his hand in awe, muttering in disbelief. He might be stronger than he ever imagined. After the powerful strike lands, remnants of the torn-up field scatter through the air under the night sky. Bits of cloth and debris drift slowly, marking the aftermath of Seo-woon's fierce counterattack. Without wasting time, Seo-woon launches into the air, leaping high above the clearing as if scouting for threats from a better vantage point. As he rises, Seo-woon's first thought was to figure out the enemy's location. His sharp eyes scan the area while his cloak billows behind him. In midair, Seo-woon suddenly spots something. His eyes widen with realization as he stares at an unexpected sight. He smirks as he found where his unknown enemy was hiding after all. Below, hidden behind the trees, a man watching the field mutters in surprise. The guy was shocked, questioning himself what kind of person Seo-woon really is. The man nervously mutters that the last attack was a spell he had poured all his mana into. He was stunned. Despite all that power, Seo-woon was able to neutralize it completely like it was just nothing. Before the man can recover from the shock, Seo-woon yells at the man, as if he sees something unexpected. But it was already too late. Blood suddenly bursts from the man's chest as a curved blade pierces through him from behind. As the man stares at the wound in disbelief, blood spills out. He stammers, confused, unable to comprehend how this happened. Behind him stands a new figure, silent and deadly. He then looks back and still confused on why he didn't detect any presence at all. On the other hand, the attacker coldly advises him that he should have saved some mana for detection magic or a barrier to protect himself. Then blood started flowing out from the mage's nose and mouth. But the assassin continues speaking, saying that, for someone like him, erasing his presence is a piece of cake. With a lifeless stare, he calmly tells his victim to go peacefully. Then, as the man's body shatters into light, a pop-up message from the system updates the count of survivors, showing that there are now only 5 players remaining out of 100. Without wasting time, Seo-woon decides to go down, his steps light and focused as he lands on the grass. The assassin turns his gaze towards Seo-woon and calls out to him by name, stating that he must be Jin Seo-woon. Landing ahead of him, Seo-woon asks, "You know me?" While the assassin, still standing near the chest, affirms it, saying of course he does, and how he could not know that when it was Seo-woon the one who eliminated Nam Sa-gwang, who is a known public enemy. Seo-woon, now in a fighting stance, clenches his fist with sweat running down his face, and listens as the assassin remarks that the remaining survivors are probably desperate to catch him. Seo-woon doesn't respond, standing tense in silence. The assassin then warns Seo-woon not to show off unnecessarily and to just die peacefully. He claims he's never missed a target he's set his sights on and puts himself into a fighting stance as well. Charging forward with dual blades, the assassin shouts at Seo-woon to hand over everything and die. Seo-woon starts charging forward as well, thinking that he will just rely on his internal energy. With that, both of them rush toward each other, Seo-woon meeting the charge head-on with his fist, while the assassin uses his dual blades as their intense clash begins. As the assassin attacked, he rushed forward with fierce speed and a cold, focused gaze, sneering that his opponent was too slow. With a sharp slash, he carved through the air, blood spraying around him as his blades cut cleanly, his motion fluid, precise, and deadly. Meanwhile, Seo-woon stumbles back, with blood bursting from multiple wounds, his body recoiling from the heavy strike as pain shoots through him. He looks at his arms where the assassin's strike has hit him. Breathing heavily and on alert, Seo-woon observes the assassin while holding his injured left arm. The assassin admits that he had expected to cut Seo-woon down easily, but acknowledges he's tougher than he anticipated. Seo-woon, on the other hand, thinks to himself that if not for covering his body with his internal energy, he would have been sliced right through. He then realizes that this guy is strong and might be a tough opponent for him. Smirking with confidence, the assassin warns that Seo-woon's death is only a matter of time. He declares with pride that he has never failed an assassination in such darkness. As Seo-woon stands his ground, sweat trailing down his face, he recalls that he had always dealt with mages, but now he's up against an assassin, which makes him think about the differences between the two types. Then, with a spark of recognition, Seo-woon's eyes widen as a thought strikes him at the word darkness. But before finishing his thoughts, he notices the assassin raise both blades and announces that he will now finish him. And in a blink, his body dissolves into black streaks, vanishing from sight. Seo-woon stiffens in panic, eyes darting around as he stammers in shock that the assassin has disappeared. He was unaware that the assassin was around him already. Then, as the assassin moves behind Seo-woon, the assassin launches a surprise attack. He aimed his blades straight towards Seo-woon's exposed back, while Seo-woon's eyes widen in shock, too slow to react. But then, as the assassin was about to land his so-called final blow, Seo-woon suddenly vanishes from his sight, causing the assassin to halt mid-attack and shout in confusion, What?" as the assassin looks around and mutters about where Seo-woon is. Seo-woon suddenly appears behind him, still not visible due to his cloak. He then comments that the assassin's stealth is technically quite impressive, but of course, compared to his cloak of stealth, it is always an inferior version. Before the assassin can react, Seo-woon grabs his wrist from behind in a firm grip. Seo-woon explains that even if the assassin is hidden, he can still track his energy well enough to pinpoint his movements. Caught off guard, the assassin panics and yells, "Well, what? Was it from behind? You coward?" In response, Seo-woon glares at him coldly and repeats the assassin's earlier words back at him, that he'd finish Seo-woon. He then adds, "Go on, run your mouth like you did earlier." With no hesitation, Seo-woon twists the assassin's arms, making him scream out in pain. Still reeling from his twisted arms, the assassin desperately tries to negotiate. He stammers, asking if Seo-woon can really face the remaining ones by himself, and whether he should cooperate with him and aim for first place. But before he can finish, Seo-woon cuts him down in an instant, making his blood spurt around them. Then, the system message appears, announcing, "Jin Seo-woon killed Tamarin using sword technique." The system also shows that the survivor count drops to 4 out of 100. Seo-woon stands silently, catching his breath with a slight exhale while adjusts his collars. Afterward, he notes that he absorbed the life energy of 2 people and used their healing scrolls to recover. He also thinks that, since the commotion earlier was too big, he needs to quickly loot and try to escape the area. Without wasting time, Seo-woon begins checking the items and is surprised to find something so unexpected in the assassin's possession: a mysterious glowing book wrapped in purple energy. As he flips it over, a system message reveals its identity: Scroll of Spirit-Wielding Illusion Step. The scroll allows the user to summon clones in battle, with the number of clones depending on their internal energy. The system prompts him to learn the skill. He reflects on how fortunate it was that the assassin didn't know how to wield internal energy. If he had mastered this scroll and used it effectively, Seo-woon admits it would have been difficult for him to win. Continuing through the loot, Seo-woon discovers a second magic book titled Carmen's Eye. The system explains that it's the highest grade detection spell, capable of seeing through all stealth. But Seo-woon notes that his magic circle is too low to learn it. Realizing the implication, Seo-woon concludes that this must have been how the mage located him earlier. Though his cloak offers concealment, it clearly isn't invincible. As he continues checking his loot, he fails to notice a looming danger drawing near. Just then, an arrow slices past his cheek, catching him off guard. His eyes widen as he stares at the arrow now lodged in the ground at his feet, still processing the sudden threat. He quickly reasons that if someone among the remaining survivors is using a bow, then... But before he can finish his thoughts, a blinding barrage of blue magical energy rains down from above. Shocked, Seo-woon clutches the purple book tightly as a second attack from an unseen enemy closes in. With his cloak fluttering, Seo-woon narrows his eyes and concludes that the spell just used isn't something he recognizes. He begins to wonder if the attacker might not be the archer he saw earlier. Just as Seo-woon realizes he can't dodge in time, he sharpens his focus and channels all of his internal energy into his fist, bracing for a head-on clash. With no hesitation, he roars the name of his martial art, Mujul Quan, and unleashes an explosive extreme straight punch straight into the incoming attack. The fist collides with the barrage of mana, sending shockwaves in all directions as the overwhelming energy splits apart violently on impact. The explosion continues to ripple out, lighting up the area in blue as Seo-woon's punch pierces through the mana storm with unstoppable force. Catching his breath, Seo-woon looks around and comes to a realization. 2 separate attacks were launched at once. He stiffens as the thought hits him. Could this have been a coordinated joint attack? Then, a figure briefly appears beside him through the rushing wind. Seo-woon turns and spots the shadowy silhouette, But before he can respond, the figure calmly remarks that Seo Woon is indeed quite strong. In the next instant, another attacker, much larger and clad in golden armor, comes crashing down from the side with a powerful punch, his face twisted in a calm smirk. Seo Woon quickly blocks the third man's attack. Due to the impact, Seo Woon was sent skidding backward as he slides across the ground, barely regaining balance. Frustrated, Seo Woon clenches his jaw and curses to himself. Damn it, it's a three-person party. In a solo game, that kind of teamwork is a dangerous strategy. Then finally, all three enemies reveal themselves, standing together before Seo Woon. The armored one steps forward and raises his sword with a sneer, declaring that Seo Woon's luck ends here, while the other two stay back, silently watching. The system displays the enemy names one by one. The first was the King of Herson, Senturk. The second, a skeleton-faced figure, was revealed to be the Demon King's right hand, Garen. The third was the Divine Archer, Jurowana, the same man Seo Woon had encountered earlier, the one who killed Starko. This was the three-person party that had joined forces against the solo player, Jin Seo Woon. Feeling the pressure from their presence, Seo Woon breathes heavily, his thoughts racing. He grits his teeth and mutters internally, "Ha, shit. What do I do now?" This is the end of this video. If you liked this video, please don't forget to subscribe.